Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Uncensored CMO. Now, in this episode, I'm going to be catching up with the CMO of Mercado Libre. Now, if you've not heard of them, they are an over $10 billion organization. They're the biggest e-commerce business in Latin America, and they compete head-on with Amazon. It's an extraordinary story, and their CMO, Sean, has been on that journey for the last 13 years and has seen them through incredible change. I wanted to catch up with Sean to find out what makes a great CMO at the head of an organization, reinventing themselves so much and growing at the rate they are. Sean is a lovely, honest guy with plenty of uncensored views and lots of experience to share about what makes a great marketer. I know you're going to love this episode. It's my conversation with Sean Summers. Welcome to Sean Summers on the Uncensored CMO podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm very, very excited to be here.
Now, we're here recording this live from Cannes, which is nice. And what brings you to Cannes in the first place?
I would say a couple of things. As a CMO of a company, this is a great place, once a year to interact with a lot of people in the industry and get a little bit, I don't know if it's inspiration, but get a feel of what's happening outside of my world, both in Latin America and in general, e-commerce and fintech. And then with my, I'm also in charge of our advertising business, which is growing a lot. And so, we have a lot of meetings with the clients and prospective clients. So it's an interesting mix, so it's going to be a very busy week.
Very busy indeed. Yeah. You're so right. I think the power of this place actually is in the people you meet, isn't it? And the conversations that happen and the opportunities that come
and the random encounters, on the way here.
Totally.
I was bumping into people that I worked 10 or 15 years ago in the UK. So.
Yeah. In fact, we're doing things this year that happened late at night last year, that's sort of like, wouldn't it be good if, and it's like happened a year later,
Absolutely.
We're here, all that kind of thing. Up for any awards this year?
So far, we've won a gold last evening. I missed the ceremony.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. I misunderstood the logistics, but, the team was there, to receive the gold, and then I've heard a couple of silvers and a few bronzes. So it's been an award also.
Oh, very good. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, so exciting times.
Yeah. And what creates a good award-winning campaign in your eyes?
I think a couple of things. First, for me, on campaigns and in general in marketing, it's all about what are the business results that we generate. We exist basically to deliver business results, and I think that you have to be bold. We operate in categories and in a world of sameness, and probably you're not gonna find a lot of standout by doing a lot of the normal or more traditional or safe kind of marketing. So I think that what the campaigns have in common is that they are not that intuitive. They are bold. Some people on the business, they complain, why are we doing this? Whenever they complain, I think that we're on the right track.
Yes, that's a good KPI. Has it had enough complaints from the people that need to, should complain? I love that. It's really good. And how do you get good creative work, let's say out of your agency partners, and how do you inspire them to do great work?
Look, keep the briefs as simple as possible. Let's try not to complicate. Give the agency the ability to challenge your brief. I always say, GAT won the account many years ago, and they started with, they challenged our brief. They said, the insight is wrong. Sorry, if you want me to participate in the pitch, you have to allow me to tell you, the brief is wrong. I said, look, I like, the boldness of your statement. Come, and pitch with that idea. So I think that creating, even from the beginning, and we didn't know each other. So it was about, look, this company is all about, creating different points of view and listening to everyone. So I think that that's super important. Try to keep simple the process, not a lot of back and forths and not a lot of people involved. If I'm honest, I'm involved in very little campaigns. And that's on purpose. I think growing up in the marketing world, one of the frustrating things was the lack of independence to develop stuff. And at a senior level, if you're a director, you're a vice president, you should have the freedom, to work with the agency and just get shit done. And if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world, and you learn. And so I'm involved in only very few campaigns per year. And in general, probably has to do those campaigns that are less intuitive, that are not about moving the volume, the sort of the retail, the promotional campaigns, not the functional campaigns, more the crazy that you need to explain and you need to give a little bit of air cover inside the business to explain. It's, I think, and a lot of trust in the agency, even on bad times. Just being able to be very transparent. This is what I work, what I like, what doesn't like, what I don't like, and then being able to tell you. And sometimes we get into yelling at each other, but it's good.
Yeah, that's really good. Actually, I won a couple of lines in 2017 working on Lucozade. It's exactly as you say, actually. I remember the agency pushed back and had a big idea. It's the only time I think I've ever said, I don't need to approve this. Like the first time I'll see it is when it's done, because I was that confident in their recommendation. And again, same thing, small team, actually quite a small budget as well. But they had freedom to go away and make exactly what they believed was going to work. It delivered.
I see most of the campaigns at the same time that consumers do. And I really like it.
Yeah.
And my boss, the CEO of the company, sees them 5 minutes before they go on air. And it's part of the dynamic. There's a trust. And again, if it doesn't work out, we're going to learn from it. And, we for the next time, there's always, a next time and an opportunity to improve it.
I think that's right. It's when you get to a relationship, isn't it, with a creative agency, we have that trust, and you're aligned on the insight, you're aligned on the strategy, and then you can just back them to go and make great work. No, I totally agree. That's great. It's interesting there you're saying, you see it when it goes on air, and I've been in that situation. Some people are quite surprised at what the CMO actually does. I guess people have this having this conversation in Cannes is quite ironic, isn't it? But people's perception is we spend our time, with agencies out, drinking and all that kind of thing. But talk to me about what a CMO role is actually like.
So in my case, I'm very proud to say I make probably 2% of all the marketing decisions in my company. And I think that, I'm not stealing my company. It's like, I'm doing my job. I'm doing my job. So I think that my job is building the right team. So I work with really smart people and they tolerate me. But I think that they like that freedom of, going back and forth with ideas. I like to be a sounding board to my team on a diverse set of topics and then giving them the freedom. So once we agree on the strategy, and what are the key initiatives, I trust that you're going to go and do it, and that you are going to come back when you have doubts or when I can be of assistance. Second piece is creating the conditions for that team to operate. So I do a lot of that work of behind the scenes when someone in the business side or someone doesn't agree, or when things even inside of the marketing team get a little bit stuck because matrix organizations always present challenges. My role is to help. How do you navigate and how do we avoid it? In the future. Then it's a lot about challenging. It's challenging the delivery of the results. I always measure my team. We all only talk business language. I've always, it's banned. Talking about brand KPIs. Brand KPIs are super important. They are tools for us. That's not language that we use on the outside world. Not with the business. Interestingly, now I have business leaders who talk very excitedly about the brand power KPI.
Do they?
Yeah,
wow.
But I think that it comes from the trust that we only talk and we measure ourselves by the business impact, and everything else is an input metric to deliver those results. So challenging on the delivery of the results, the accountability, both short and long term, and then I'm curious, and it's pushing the boundaries on every single discipline that we do. My mantra is whatever worked this year, next year is not going to work. The next 12 or 18 months is not going to work. So we need to reinvent everything that is working for us, be it, performance marketing, bottom of the funnel, stuff, top of the funnel. Everything has to be reinvented. It's our way of trying to be one step ahead of competition. So I would say I do that. And then there are, topics that I find interesting. I'm not a technology guy, but I'm fascinated by everything that has to do with, data science. I understand probably 5% of what my data scientists tell me, but it's fascinating. So I try to, from an abstract, high-level point of view, ask hopefully the right questions, and just back and forth and trying to understand how they're trying to solve it. So I get involved a lot on that. I get involved, a little bit on branding, a lot on business, and nowadays over the last couple of years I've been focused much more on the business side. Building the advertising, our Mercado ads advertising platform, which is, growing like a lot. It's the biggest retail media platform in Latin America. And also a combination with building a startup of content distribution inside Mercado Libre, which has been another pet project.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Only Mercado Libre allows you, to do these kind of things.
I love what you're saying there as well about not using kind of marketing language outside of marketing. It's so true, isn't it? Because I think something I advise my marketing teams as well is to say, start with the business problem. What are you trying to achieve? And then answer it in language that finance people will understand. And it's amazing how suddenly it opens doors and everyone goes, oh, that's what you're doing.
And you gain credibility because if not, with marketing, over the years, we have developed so much jargon. And every function has jargon. But, when you talk to the outside world, you have to understand it doesn't make you more sophisticated. People think that, we're talking bullshit.
Yeah.
And so you lose credibility. And the other thing that I spend a lot of time is helping the team challenge what are we not going to do. Because in this world, there's a premium on activity. And I hate, people running like busy fools. It's like, let's have the conviction and the guts. Let's come up with 10 ideas, 20 ideas, but let's have the conviction and the guts to say, these are the 3 that we think are going to have there. And in business in general, everyone wants to take the safe route of, let's throw 20 things against the wall and see what sticks. Doesn't work out.
It's so true. People assume that you grow by doing more, but when you do more, you do less because all those extra things, you can't execute them to the same standard. You've got the same resource and they get diluted and then you don't launch them properly and then you're just like busier and busier and busier, less and less effective.
I'm going to earn a lot of enemies, in the industry. I realized recently, one of the worst things that we invented is the 360 campaign.
Yes.
Shit, I realized only a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the worst thing because it works only on PowerPoint. Have
yes.
you ever seen
a
360 campaign?
Yeah.
Look, in reality, consumers, we think about our brands, 24/7. Consumers spend 1 second per week thinking about your brand, if you're lucky, okay? So it's not about trying to bombard them with a lot of things. It's like 1 or 2 messages, in the most effective mediums. That's going to do the magic. And if you spend all the time and all the energy and all the money on making that thing work, I think that you can be much more successful.
It's funny. It reminds me of, I wrote this little article about what happens when you have no money, right? Because I was working on a Lipton iced tea. Did you have Lipton iced tea in Latin America?
In some places,
yes. The same thing, right? Because it was, Unilever had the brand. I was working at Britvic and I took it over. And we had very little money. I mean, maybe £250,000 budget, something like that, right? So, something, but, in soft drinks, most competitors had 5 or 10 million, right? So, relatively small. And I remember the thing with iced tea in the UK is that the British, well, you'll know this, we market director at Twinings. Like in the UK, people like their tea hot, right? And the association with tea is as a hot drink. Trying to get British people to have cold tea, it's just like, what are you doing, And anyway, this is a challenge. And I met my counterparts at Unilever, and they handed me this really big file over, with the 360 campaign, right? The 360 campaign the idea was genius, right? The idea was don't knock it till you try it, because basically what it showed is that people, 60 or 70% of people do reject the idea. When they try it, 60 or 70 people love the idea, right? But you know what they did? They did an integrated 360-degree campaign. Do you know what it didn't have? Any sampling. So it was like doing everything, right? I was like, but aren't they going to try it? No, this is a 360 integrated campaign. And anyway, the point I was writing in the article is focus on the business problem, put all your resources behind doing the thing that's going to change the behavior.
And I've done more than my fair share of 360 campaigns. So, guilty as charged is I'm trying to learn from my mistakes.
Yeah.
So it's like 360, if we could kill that, I think that,
Well, that's going
we would help.
101, right?
Yeah.
We're putting that in the bin. So the first thing we're going to kill is we might go on to AI. We'll put that in the bin next, right?
Okay.
Anyway, we'll keep that for later. We're talking of failures. One of the questions I love to ask people is, what's been the biggest failure in your career? We often talk about successes, don't we? But sometimes you learn more from the big challenges, the big failures. What would you pick for that?
Quite a few. Let me pick 2 or 3. The first one, I had a career in PepsiCo, started in Argentina, my home country, and I always say that I worked in PepsiCo for 14 years. But actually, I came and go twice. So I worked 96 to 99. I left the company to do a startup, first stage of internet. I raised money, launched in Argentina a business-to-business marketplace. in the grocery industry. And we scaled it, and we launched it, and we operated, and we failed. And I failed. So I was wrong. Yes, the market conditions didn't help, and the stock market disappeared and everything. But strategy-wise, I didn't have the right strategy. I didn't have the knowledge. Forget about the conviction. The knowledge of what it meant to pivot. I should have pivoted the business model. I didn't have the clarity, and probably I didn't have the guts to tell my board, look, I think that the strategy as it is not going to work. But so that was on me. Yeah, the market conditions didn't work out, but definitely I didn't have the clarity on how to pivot a strategy where we were sort of delivering what we promised, but not at the pace of growth that we needed. And I had to do something different. I didn't know how to do it. Fast forward to the UK. I get to the UK, and we should talk about my arrival to the UK in 2007 after my MBA. I inherited the launch of Sunbites. Fantastic product, but I some of the things on the inside and the way that we had planned to launch it didn't work out. So I had to very quickly turn around a failed launch. Okay, and it was on me, and I didn't have the clarity of how to fix it. We went now. We need to do a campaign because if not, we retailers are gonna delist it. This was like 3 months into the launch. Okay, and I said. And shit, we don't have a good brief, and I don't know what's the right insight. And there was a lot of change, going on in the company. I ended up doing a shitty campaign. Like, you're talking about, the worst campaign, Sunbites launch campaign, shitty ad. I always remember, one of my colleagues. I work with really, really great people in the UK who were super supportive. And Carol Garbett, she was the marketing director for Quaker. I asked, look, Carol, look at this offline. I know that it's not that great, but can you give me an opinion? And she's trying to be so polite. And Sean, well, do you have this? Or maybe you could change this. But I could see in her eyes, like, mate, this is a piece of shit, and you're screwed. She was trying to be empathetic with me. But, so it didn't work out. Unfortunately, look, through the power of distribution, the product was sort of okay, and eventually. I think it was okay. It was never a great launch, but even though I inherited the launch, I had no idea how to turn it around, on time. Fortunately, it didn't derail my career in PepsiCo.
It didn't hold you back. That's good.
It didn't hold me back, which speaks quite well from the rest of the company. But my performance there, after 2 years in the MBA, I was a little bit rusty on some of the basics. And then fast forward to Mercado Libre, when I was running the marketplace business, very early on, we saw the opportunity to develop the cross-border trade sort of platform to complement the local supply. And, we did a small acqui-hire. I think, we were doing a lot of stuff in parallel. And I was trying to manage, a team that was remote with a technology that was operating outside the platform. It didn't make any sense. And, for 2 or 3 years, and this is a company with a lot of resilience, we tried to figure it out, and it didn't work out. Unfortunately, someone, smarter than me came, and they found the way forward, and now that's a multi-billion-dollar business. So fortunately, someone builds on your mistakes. Yes. And I've always been quite transparent about the mistakes because those are the 3 that can. And if you give me another 10 minutes, I can come up with another 10.
This is great. What's interesting about those is, that situation where you're creating a new ad and you're not quite sure it's right, and then the agency come back and go, "We'll fix it in post." And they always go, "In post-production, we'll fix it." I think that's what happens so often in our careers, is that you actually know it's not going to work, like you did with the bites thing, right? Often our instinct tells us really early on, we just know, like you said, your colleague Carol there. And I think there's a skill in calling it early and honestly, because I've been in those situations where you kind of think, oh, we'll fix it in post, equivalent of like when the campaign will sort it, and it's not going to. And it's the bravery, I think, to go, do you know what? I know this is going to cost us money. I know it's going to be embarrassing. I know I'm going to look bad. But we have this inbuilt human nature, don't we, where we'd rather not admit it, and carry on going, even though we know it's not going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, now I'm a different person. That was almost 15 years ago. And I over the last 11 years, if I face that situation today, it would be much easier for me to say exactly that. Probably I wouldn't even go into developing a campaign. Look, guys, until we don't have something that looks like a serious brief, let's not even waste the time, the agency's time. Yeah. So we learn from our mistakes. What can I say?
And I think the other advice in that situation as well is to own the problem as well, because owning the problem yourself.
And that was my problem. I think that one of the reasons why I survived, eventually they gave me more responsibilities, because at all stages I recognized, I wasn't a victim of anything. If anything, I was a victim of my own inability. Okay, and I was transparent about it. And the other thing during that time, which I'm going on a separate note, but that was a tough time for me getting into the UK, coming. It's like, the Latin American player has done very well in the Mexican and Argentinian league, and I'm coming from my MBA in Stanford, and I'm feeling confident, but then you get to the UK, and the UK from a marketing point of view, it's the Premier League. And, just getting adjusted there for the first year, it was tough. I very quickly realized, look, from a leadership point of view, I'm up for the challenge. From a functional point of view, I don't have the tooling. I looked at my team. My team were much smarter and much better prepared than I was. My peer group was brilliant, but instead of, and for 18 months, I sort of struggled, under the water. But the way that I came out of that was I really relied on my team. They were great. And instead of seeing it as a threat, I saw it as a big opportunity. And I really relied on my peer group. And I think that that's something that we don't do often. And here, when I arrived, I always remember this. I get into the Walker's office in Thiel. And as I'm getting to the marketing side, a big guy comes and tells me, "Hello, my Argentinian friend. I'm Tony Mata. I'm the Greek Canadian, and I know what you're feeling. You need a hug."
Oh, really? That's amazing.
With his Greek sort of ancestry, he said, at this moment you're coming to a foreign country, I'm going to give you a hug. And then, Clive Jones, who was also there, they were fantastic, settling in, and John Golson. And then everyone left. In the following 4 to 6 months, everyone left. So I left. Oh my God, shit. But the people that came in, so Greg Lyons, great American guy nowadays in Pepsi, and Thomas Delariere and Tim Warner. You know what? They were brilliant marketeers, much better than I. And I relied on them. And they were super supportive. And, you have to be a little bit more vulnerable and be okay. And Carol, helped me out at the time. And everyone is willing to help you.
I think that's another good learning, isn't it? Like, generally, my experience has been everyone is happy to help. And you're much better off asking for help than kind of making it up as you go along. And then it's worse to kind of make it up and fail, isn't it? Than to go, I don't know this, I'm going to ask for some help. And then you get that buy-in and that support, don't you?
Exactly. And because people in general, they want you to see you succeed. This is not a competition. But it was in that phase, sort of my career made me much stronger, because it reinforced that, look, I'm a fighter. And even though I felt out of my depth, from a functional point of view, I said, look, by the same token, look, I'm going to rely on this support network that is there. And I really believe, in some of my strengths, and I got through it. It was a miracle, but I got through it.
Now, so you worked at PepsiCo. You also worked at Twinings, which is where we first met, and then you went to back to Latin America, didn't you? Back to Brazil, was it?
No, I decided to relocate to Uruguay, but the company is headquartered in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Yes, yeah. And just for people listening that aren't from Latin America, describe Mercado Libre, because it is an astonishing business, and just give listeners the insight into
it's an incredible business. I joined, so it was founded 24 years ago as an e-commerce company, marketplace very similar, to eBay. Actually, eBay was a shareholder for many years between 2001 and 2016, but it evolved really, really quickly over the last 20 years. Maybe not quickly, because it became the largest e-commerce and fintech player in Latin America. So the e-commerce business evolved dramatically from consumer to C2C, used products, to new products sold by, hundreds of thousands of small, medium, and large enterprises, brands and everything, with our own logistics. And the payments business, which was created in 2003 to, help us, settle our transactions, eventually grew into a fully fledged fintech company. So we do online payments, offline payments, consumer credits, merchant credits, insurtech, asset management, you name it. So that it has become a super successful company. We IPO'd in NASDAQ in 2007, before my time. And we've grown exponentially particularly over the last 10 years. When I joined, it was
today turnover is what, 10 billion?
10 billion. It was 300 million turnover when I joined in 2012. It was 10.5 billion last year, and with very healthy growth rates.
And accelerated through COVID, I think, as well, through the pandemic.
We doubled our business during the pandemic, and we are one of the few companies in the world, I think, that was able to keep growing after that. So we retain all the gains from the pandemic, and we've been growing very, very high double digit for the last 2 years. And the ambition is, we still think that the opportunity in Latin America, both in e-commerce and fintech, is huge.
And to put it into context, your main competitor is Amazon, right?
We compete with Amazon in Mexico since 2015, in Brazil since 2018, and they are a formidable competitor. It's the best, the arrival of Amazon, we always say, it was a blessing in disguise. It forced us to really change absolutely everything of how we thought, how we operated, how we executed. Competing with them has, made us much better professionals. And fortunately, even today, we're still ahead. But every single day, you have to, get out of bed and be ready to compete.
That's amazing. So take us back to the beginning. What were the challenges at scale up? I guess at 300 million, right? You're going from a startup phase and scale. What were the kind of challenges for your business at that stage?
In general, scaling up, but it all comes down to the consumer experience. So I think when I joined the company, we were growing nicely. Okay, that 300 million was like 50% growth on the previous year. But for us to become a real player in e-commerce and then in fintech, we really had to improve massively our overall consumer experience. And that meant some very tough decisions before my time, which for me were incredible. In around 2009, 2010, already as a public company, we realized that our platform doesn't scale. It was built with the previous technology, and we took Marcos, and the team, our founder and the team took the bold decision to say, look, we're going to stop innovating for 2 years, and that's tough, and we're going to rewrite every single line of code to make our, in a new API world, to make our platform scalable.
Wow. And so for 2 years, stood still for 2 years.
Yeah, we rewrote everything, and we were competing with people, but we had to deliver our quarterly and our annual results. But we took, we always take the tough and the long and the difficult sort of route and the right route. So by the time that I joined, we're coming out of that process, and we need to start innovating. And we, a lot of the different parts of the experience, they weren't great. And we were very honest about it. I remember I asked Marcos during the interview process, Marcos, I see that, the company is growing nicely, but, the sales and marketing budget has been fixed, for the last 3 years. Do you really believe in investing in marketing? I said, look, Sean, I guess I'm a technology person. I believe, in the power of the product. But I guess that I believe in marketing. But given that the experience is far from optimal, I don't want to spend more money to get people to get a shitty experience or a sub-up. I'd rather work and improve it. And the experience is never perfect. But at some point, you say, look, it's good enough. I can see that my retention rates are improving to a point where, okay, now let's go and spend some money. Because if not, your retention rates are so low that it doesn't make any economic sense to keep investing money on marketing. People, the churn is infinite.
That's pretty smart, isn't it? I mean, the product experience has to be where you start, right? And then you build from there. You're talking earlier as well about turning the funnel on its head as well, which I thought was quite a clever way of looking at it. And, so many kind of technology players particularly start with the experience, don't they, and kind of build from there. So what's your experience of kind of marketing the business?
It was sort of an intuitive. So when I joined, I was running the e-commerce business. For someone that wasn't coming from e-commerce, that was a massive challenge. But they were super patient with me. And we had to improve a lot of things in product management and in sales and in marketing. But in marketing, I very quickly, it was a very pragmatic approach. I forgot about all the frameworks about, you first build awareness and then consideration and then trial. And you know what? Look, we're spending $20 million. And this is the business, and the aspiration is that we're going to keep growing 50% every year for the foreseeable future without more money. I need to gain scale. The only way, if I believe in Marcos, if I deliver on the marketing initiatives, he's going to be willing to invest more money. I need to deliver volume short term. At the time, we are a retailer. We had Google AdWords, Google Shopping. You know what? We're gonna buy transactions. I wasn't trying to build a brand. I was shamelessly buying transactions and knowing that I had to optimize them to be economically efficient in the first transaction. No lifetime value bullshit or anything like that, because I knew that a lot of people wouldn't come back. So we started building and we started improving our efficiency of spend there. And after a few years, the business keeps growing and we accelerate, and we proved that marketing is accelerating growth. So Marcos opens the wallet and he said, well, I'm willing to invest. Perfect. But it's like a pay as you go. Then the next stage is, okay, we're going to keep optimizing sort of, bottom of the funnel with Google and Meta and Facebook and everything, for the foreseeable future. But we need to bring other people, because there I am sort of fishing in a pond of people who are already looking for something. And I need to change behavior of people who are not considering buying online. So very basic. Let's go one step. We are a retailer. Promotions. We weren't playing in any promotion, like everyday low price or the big, Black Friday, nothing. Well, why don't we start building some capability? And our sellers weren't used to operating there. So how do we build the capability to do it? So over the years, we built a second layer. Today, we are a retailer. We have 52 weeks of some kind of promotional activity, and it plays its role. I build more volume and in a profitable way. The important thing is always profitable. We can show that the payback is there. Perfect. And it was only, seriously, 5-6 years ago that we started doing branding seriously. Historically, we've always done branding, but 8 weeks of on air, that's not branding. It's like that's an exercise, a useless exercise. We started with, okay, minimum, we need 20 weeks on air with this kind of creative, blah, blah. Nowadays, we are almost like a 50-week...
I love this. So many people don't understand this, that when you're in a rapidly growing business, you often have to earn the money to be able to spend it, right? You can't just, just spend money building brand. You need to earn it first, you see. And you have to do the short-term tactics and, convert and sell and so on. And then that buys you the freedom to then build the brand later, right?
And the other element, super important, all of those steps were done in coordination with the improvements in the platform. Because the only way in which I could prove, better ROIs was if our retention rates, if our conversion rates improved, and then our retention rate. So it was all about measuring conversion rates and then, month 1, month 2 retention rates. So as we saw that the product was improving and our marketing was improving, we saw that things were working out. Yeah. So the confidence came. Okay, we keep investing because we knew that we would keep improving the platform, and that in turn it would deliver better retention rates, and so that was like the magic. The flywheel.
Back to our language of financing. You were demonstrating ROI, which meant the business then saw it as an investment, not a cost. That's the other thing that happens. Of course, marketing is seen as a cost, isn't it? It has to be limited. Whereas if you can prove it's an investment to drive growth, suddenly you're on the right path.
And at some point, when we got to the discussion of, can you prove the value of branding, it was more difficult. You have built enough credibility and trust. My conversation with my CFO are super logical. I've never had an argument with my CFO. First, because I consider myself to be almost like, a deputy CFO in terms of, when I was running the business, I never had, I wasn't sandbagging. We were, as a company, we don't sandbag on our targets and, on efficiency. So it's natural. But then, when we had to have the conversation, look, guys, this is going to be more of an intuitive or conceptual conversation. If we really want to bring people who are outside of e-commerce, we need to build the brand in this way. And I promise that we're going to be as a team as disciplined as we were doing that. Okay, great. And we did 20 weeks. And at the beginning, we don't have the perfect measurement, but we find the proxy KPIs that build some confidence, and always talking the language of the business. Always, let's make sure that we don't fall in the trap about talking out, because our brand awareness, our consideration, our brand power, super useful tools, but not to talk with the CFO, And eventually, look, you gain traction and people really, and nowadays, I'm in a business that I always joke that even today, the company doesn't really believe in marketing, because we are a technology company, but they put their money,
Yeah, so they're always over $1 billion a year, right?
Something like that, and it's like 50x. Increase in investments,
Yeah.
So
there you go.
I think
if
that
they don't believe, that's fine. Keep not believing, it's fine.
And it's fine. It's a very healthy dynamic, because it doesn't allow us as marketeers to get comfortable.
Yeah. One of the fascinating things about your business as well is, you started out, I guess, like an eBay, right? In terms of, selling, and then fintech in terms of financing, logistics. Presumably, you've somehow got to get a lot of products out to people. That effectively, it's like 3 or 4 different businesses, isn't it? In one that you've sort of got your head around. How do you cope with so much? Manage all that change. How do you implement that? Stay on top of it. I mean, that's incredibly complicated.
It's hard to explain. I try to explain. It's too soft. I've always been fascinated by the culture of this company. I felt it in the interviews. They were crazy enough to give me the job. I wasn't an obvious choice, and that tells you something about a company that is willing to take some risks. And I think that the mentality has always been not celebrating what we have built, but focusing on what we can build. And looking at, it always starts from problems that we see, consumer or seller problems, and then thinking about, look, is there a different way to solve it? Can we solve it? So, and many times it's a competitive dynamic. So let me give you 2 examples. One about looking outside and competitive dynamic. Until 2003, we said we will never get involved in payments or delivery. We just get sellers and consumers together. Then it's like, if you don't close that loop, it's not going to work. So 2003, we launched our online payments business to help settle the transactions. We still don't touch a package. When I joined at the October 2012, we were launching our shipping solution. And at the first time, at the beginning, it was a drop shipping solution. We didn't know anything about logistics, but we realized that we need to also, bring down that barrier.
Yeah.
And we use our technology to integrate with existing carriers. Great. That takes us all the way to 2018. Now we're competing with Amazon. I say, is this, setup good enough for us to beat them? Well, actually, no. We need to take one step forward. We need to get really involved in logistics, fulfillment centers, distribution centers, transportation. Oh shit, we don't know anything about this. So what do? We put the best people from business side, the best people from technology. We get a little of capability from the outside, and we just start, the hard work. People would say, no, because you should, take a warehouse management system off the shelf, an off-the-shelf transportation management system. And the team, it wasn't me. The team said, no, actually, this is going to be a core capability. If we're trying to reduce, shipping times and shipping costs, we have to have full control. Yeah. Software is our X factor. Yeah. Well, we did it, and that's only 5 years ago. And our and today we have probably the biggest and most efficient logistics network in Latin America. Yeah. A different example, an opportunity from the inside, our credits business. Yeah. Okay, it's like looking at China. We see that we've been an online payments business for 14 years, and we looking at China, it's something called fintech. You already have the customer relationship, and again, look, we know a little bit about software. We don't know about fintech, but we know about software. We know something about online payments. We have consumers. Let's understand what are the pain points that they have. And we identify all the obvious pain points. Okay, our merchants. Why aren't you growing? Small and medium enterprises that really started growing. I don't have working capital. A bank wouldn't give them. Well, you're selling 80% of your business. It's Mercado Libre. I know you better than anyone. I should be giving you credit.
So you're not getting out of bank.
So we launch a credit business. I started with that, and then it's okay. What kind of needs individuals have? And it was a similar process, and knowing that it's going to take time, and what's the right order of launching products. And who did it? Senior Vice President of Finance. We were looking, thinking about, we need to launch a credit business. Should we look at profiles outside? And Martin, raised his hand. Look, I would love to be an entrepreneur here. So he left his very posh, right-hand man of the CFO. And he took his best analyst, and he started this business. Yeah. 2 or 3 people, tried to figure out. 2016. Last year, we gave away. Now we gave $10 billion in credits, short-term credits. Yeah. But that's a business that didn't exist, and it was the power of starting with the first credit and the second, and we're going to talk later about AI, and it's all about being able to manage tons of data and taking insights out.
I love how you're seeing the consumer problem and then you're solving it and inventing a company off the back of it that in areas you haven't got expertise in. It's amazing.
But there's something about being ignorant that it's positive, because you don't have with the being ignorant and confident in your ability to use software to create better solutions. you don't have some of the preconcepts that people have. So you tackle the problem in a different way. Fresh
I
eyes.
came across this idea of intelligent naivety. That actually is the most successful entrepreneurs often are when they're smart, but they're in a category they have no experience of because they haven't got the paradigms. They haven't got this will never work because, they come at it completely fresh.
Yeah.
And now, of course, the next evolution of your business is probably into a media owner, right? Because that's where it goes next, right?
Well, that's what we already are in the sense that our Mercado ads, our advertising platform, we created it in like 2007 and 2009. But for many, many years, it was like an afterthought. Okay. And suddenly, obviously, we look at the competition and say, well, these guys are very smart. We respect them. And they're doing some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So we said, why aren't we doing the same? So, let's put our best people. So, we put our best people to think about, okay, and we start with the product. There are no shortcuts. So, and we started with solutions for our merchants. And we improved that, search kind of product, we call it product ads. And then we said, okay, that's great, but, we should start developing other products. And we worked for 2 years to develop, our, demand side platform, our data management platform, our ad server. It's a lot of hard work. And we relaunched early this year our display solution, which is super competitive. It's a really good product. And now we're launching, next quarter, our video solution. So we're going to be able to launch, we're going to be one of the few companies that really has a full funnel solution. Yeah. At the beginning, it's not going to be optimal, all the cross funnel, measurement is not going to be perfect. Yeah. But we have, the first party data of more than 100 million customers who are transacting with us every quarter. And presumably developing the products,
And because your customers can advertise and then they can fulfill that demand through selling, right, on the same platform. So you kind of,
But with the original product, the solution was just for people selling in Mercado Libre with the search. Now that we have sort of a top of the funnel and mid funnel with display and with video, actually, it's a media platform. You can, if you want, you don't have to sell in Mercado Libre, and you can build because we measure the same way that you measure with other online players. Which I'm clients of, so it's an
well. This is what's
dynamic.
quite funny about this because you've had a career as a brand builder, obviously trained in PepsiCo. You've been advertising and doing that, and now you're sort of on the other side of the fence as you're now a media owner. Kind of, what's that like, and what have you learnt as somebody who's built a media kind of business?
We're building that, but it's now in a high growth and significant player. It's the biggest retail. Media in Latin America and the third largest, after Google and Meta. So it's growing nicely. I would say the learning is first in terms of how do you manage both. We're still a very important client for all of those guys, and we're very strong partners. So we keep investing a lot. So we see it as complementary. I've learned a long time ago that this industry in general, technology, knows the concept of being a frenemy. Yeah.
Yes.
By the same token, look, many times over the years, Google, through Google Shopping, tried to integrate forward. The same with Meta, and it's fine. We never go to offend. It's fine that you go and try. Look, we're doing it backwards. Yeah. But still, I'm investing more than ever in all my sort of media partners, and at the same time, I'm trying to develop a different kind because I think that the value of first-party data in this new world, and given that we are a retailer, so people who come to Mercado Libre or to Mercado Pago, they are here to transact. Okay, so I see it sort of highly complementary.
But do you advertise Mercado Libre on other platforms as well? Right. So you're advertising on your competitors' platforms.
I don't consider them a competitor. I think it could be a little bit of an overstatement to put ourselves at the same level of the big guys. Google, Meta, TikTok. They are super big partners as an advertiser. Probably I'm one of the biggest. We are one of the biggest partners, and we're going to continue to invest. But at the same time, we see an opportunity. As the world of advertising is moving into online, I don't see it. It's not a zero-sum game. It's definitely. If you are in offline advertising, probably you're going to see it. But for online, I see it, quite complementary.
Well, this is the interesting thing with brand building as well, because take Amazon, with the famous quote about advertising is the tax for poor products, and now Amazon is the biggest advertiser in the world, isn't it? It's incredible. So the importance of when you have an online brand to also build it offline, and because that's how you're going to get people to.
This whole concept, I heard many times in the world of technology. If you build it, they will come. If you build the right product, people will find it. I think at some point in time, maybe it was true. I think that it's been a long time since that. Why? For me, if you build it, you gain the right to talk about it. Consumers have choices. We have a lot of competition. In Brazil, for me, Brazil is the most competitive market in the world, both in e-commerce and fintech. And it's great. It makes us better, and it's great for consumers. And the same in Mexico. So I think you need to do both things. Having said that, super important, some of the mistakes that I don't think that marketing can compensate product shortcomings or failures. I think that we can sort of accelerate the growth of a good product. It doesn't need to be perfect. But every time that someone comes and tells you, like, I need you to do more push notifications or more discounts, and when we get to the detail is like, because the product is not converting well enough. No, you know what? Let's go and do the homework. Let's fix the product so that it's a decent product, and then let's spend money. Because if not, it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, there's nothing like having an amazing advert for an airline, and then you go online and you try and book, and your booking doesn't work, or your loyalty points haven't been added, or they lose your bags. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? You have to get that right.
But by the same token, it's super gratifying as a marketeer to be able to talk about a product experience that that it's really good. And what we saw, and during the pandemic we proved, is like the entire shopping experience, from searching and paying and delivering, same day delivery, next day delivery, almost like magical. It's much easier, for a marketer.
So pandemic seemed to accelerate your business. Well, was it? I know obviously it was a tragic event, and no one would want to go through that. But did that experience, has it helped you as a business get better at what you do? Having that sort of
I think so, because it tested us to the limits. And look, it was a very unfortunate event, and I wish it hadn't happened. But there were lots of players in online that couldn't sort of make the most out of the situation. And I think that we were ready for the challenge, because we started making the investments in early 2018 in logistics. Everything is related. When you look backwards, you can join the dots. Those decisions in early 2018 allowed us to really offer a unique and incredible experience during the pandemic. And for consumers, that was like eye-opening. These guys are delivering in the worst of situations. And we proved to ourselves, we really tested that logistics team. And they did an incredible job. And they started opening delivery centers every week without any people. Before the pandemic, we would send teams, into Mexico and Brazil to open every single one of these. We were opening one a week in each country, all, without, with no presence. So I think that, these things, you have to be prepared, and it, it found us in a place where we were prepared for the challenge.
No, you're right. It's a bit like the adoption of like Zoom or Teams or whatever, or Google Meet. The people that invented Zoom had obviously done all the hard jobs before the pandemic. Now you might say they're lucky, but they happened to have the technology ready and they'd proved it, and then
and because experiences were really good, I think that's one of the reasons why people stuck with us.
It works. Yeah, exactly.
It works. It works really well.
Yeah. So we talked about binning 360-degree integrated campaigns earlier, didn't we? Let's get on to the topic du jour. In fact, you can't walk down the Croisette without bumping into somebody talking about AI, right? It seems to be the topic. So where do you stand on AI? Is this another metaverse, NFT, or is it here to stay?
Look, I think it's a little bit and a little bit. AI, I'm a little bit tired of the buzzwords, and now it's AI, and it was metaverse, and it was NFTs, and it was voice search. And look, in the end, I think that all these innovations are necessary for us to find those few innovations that really make the difference. Okay, so for me, it's part of the process, but the same way that I discard part of the current argument, I've discarded metaverse. And it's interesting. I'm bullish on the metaverse 5 or 10 years from now. I'm not bullish, Sorry, I'm going to say it. Anyone, who went and hired chief metaverse officer. What the fuck? Yeah. Come on, man. Nobody's gonna beat you there. I think you're gonna have the time. Eventually, if the metaverse explodes, okay, you're gonna have the time to catch up. Anyway, on AI, this AI has been around for a long time. Mercado Libre has been doing AI since 2013. All our marketing, all our performance marketing, our integration with Google, with Meta, TikTok is based on AI, not on people. All our fraud prevention for years has been that. All the logistics is run, and you can't imagine, how complex that is. All our payments infrastructure, all our Mercado ads, all the bidding and all the. So it's been around for us. We talk about the AI revolution. For us, the AI revolution has been around for 10 years.
It shows that it's mostly marketing, actually, doesn't it? But rather than product, because I met Daniela Braga, who set up Defined AI, and I said, "Oh, it must be great! Like literally, you're the right person, at the right time. You just launched your business." Anyway, I said, "So, how long does it take you to get here?" And she said, 20 years. She's been working on AI for 20 years.
Exactly. So now I think that AI has been around for a long time, and people confuse AI with ChatGPT. Yes. I think that ChatGPT is a super interesting technology. Early phases, we still don't know what we don't know. So I wouldn't try to rush and try to figure it out. Again, some of the use cases make sense. Others don't. I'm still trying to figure out from a productivity and from a consumer experience point of view, we found really good use cases that we're going to develop. From a marketing point of view, I'm still trying to figure out how it's going to impact search. But it's depending on search on shopping, I think it's going to be less impacted than if it's a more of a general search, like I want to travel to Naples and bring me the whole itinerary. So depending on the category, it might affect more or less. I love being controversial. The thing that I'm not entirely sure is on search. When they tell me that ChatGPT is going to be the thing that brings Bing back to life.
Yeah. That's a big ask, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
One.
I think that Microsoft is developing some incredible products. They are brilliant. But that one, I think that they're pushing the marketing.
What does Google share? 98%?
Yeah, something like that.
That's a big mountain.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
And again, maybe I'm happy to be proven totally wrong, and no big deal. I've been wrong many times in my life. But that one, for the searches that you really monetize, let me put it that way, that the platforms really monetize, I'm not that sure that there's a silver bullet for Bing. But having said that, look, if Bing can go from 2% to 5% market share, it's a very nice business for them. But again, that's my reaction in general. There's a little bit of overhype, and everyone gets out running. And look, if you haven't done the basics on being a data-driven company with the basics, even with the Excels, what the hell are you doing talking about AI? I think I go back to this concept. There are no shortcuts in marketing or in business. So you want to talk about AI, make sure that you have a data-driven organization, even with the most elemental of tools. And between Excel and AI, there are lots of interesting things in between. And I think that you really have to go through the different phases. You can go faster than probably we did, but you have to go through the phases because the learnings of the previous phase allow you, to make the most of the next technology.
Yeah, it's not going to just jump you from A to Z, is it? Just all of a sudden without having all the other bits in between.
This whole thing about looking for silver bullets or for shortcuts, I can give you the example with AI. I can give you the example with something totally different, brand purpose. I really believe in brand purpose. Okay, I really believe that as brands, and as big brands, we operate in societies and we have an impact in communities and we have to be a shining light. Yeah. But you have to do the basics first. When I see people looking for the shortcut because I don't know what's my brand position, I'm going to try to take a shortcut. It's not going to work. Exactly. Mercado Libre, look, I first try to do the basics of be a decent retailer. I'm not solving your life. I'm solving this very specific pain point of your life. Okay, very transactional driven. Then I'm going to try to sell you, the unique selling proposition. Now, what differentiates in a very functional way my platform from the platform next door. Perfect. I'm still earning your trust with very small things. Yeah. And maybe if you do those things, you earn the right to talk about stuff that maybe has nothing to do with selling more boxes and have to do with issues that are important for the society. But I think that, trying to jump from, consumers don't know about me to suddenly I'm going to be talking about purpose, it's a disservice to the brand and to the very important, concept of having a brand purpose. And brand purpose, I was talking the other day with Antonio Lucio, who's a great friend and mentor. And we were talking the difference between, brand purpose and CSG. Okay?
Yes.
Or ESG.
Yes.
It's not the same. They're complementary.
That's what everyone conflates, isn't it?
They are complementary, and it's not the same.
Yeah, I totally agree. Good. So we've been to 360-degree integrated campaigns. AI, use it if you've done the hard work, right?
And trial it and be curious. I do my homework, and we as a team, we do the homework on every single technology and everything that our competitors do.
Yeah.
But then I have to apply our criteria to what's relevant, how is it relevant for my company, and if it's relevant now or in 6 or 12 months.
Yeah.
Going back to the concept of trade-offs.
Yeah.
They're always making trade-offs.
Yeah. And you go back to what is it you're trying to do, what are you trying to solve, and how do you do the work? Brilliant. Yeah. Sean, thank you very much. It's been a brilliant conversation. It's been lovely having you on the show.
Thank you for the invite.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to The Uncensored CMO. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed doing the interview. If you'd like to never miss an episode again, please do subscribe. You can do that wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to watch on YouTube, go and hit the subscribe button there too. You can follow me at John Evans over at Twitter or on LinkedIn, where I am under John Evans. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.